Hi guys, it's Jolene. This week we're reading another story from the Lectionary Story Bible by Ralph Milton. This week we're reading another story based on the Gospel of Luke, which is a very old book that tells lots of stories about the life of Jesus. And this one is called Jesus is Joking. I think Jesus is joking, said Mary of Magdala. I mean, he has to be joking. He can't be serious. Mary and Andrew were talking about a story Jesus told them. I think Jesus was laughing a little when he told that story, said Andrew. I saw his eyes sparkle as he was talking. Well, let's go ask him, said Mary. The two of them walked over to where Jesus was resting under a tree. Can you tell us that story again, Jesus? The one about the man who made people tell lies? Jesus laughed a little. Sure. Now listen carefully. There was a rich man who had a helper named Simeon. The rich man saw that Simeon wasn't doing things right. Sometimes Simeon would spend the rich man's money on silly things. So the rich man called Simeon into his office. Simeon, I want you to give me a list of all the ways you have spent my money and tell me exactly how you have taken care of my business. Yes, sir, said Simeon. But instead, he ran to the people who owed the rich man money for things they bought at his store. How much do you owe my boss? Simeon asked. $20. Then look, said Simeon. I've crossed it out so it looks as if you only owe the rich man $10. Then Simeon went to another person who owed the rich man money. How much do you owe? $50, he said. Then look, said Simeon. I've crossed it out so that it looks as if you only owe the rich man $20. And that's what Simeon did with all the people who owed the rich man money. They all liked Simeon and invited him over to their house for dinner. When the rich man heard what Simeon was doing, he said, Way to go, Simeon, way to go. You're a smart man. Jesus leaned over and spoke quietly to Mary and Andrew. You see, that's how you make friends. You cheat. That's how you have to do it if you want to be rich. Andrew could see the same sparkle in Jesus' eyes. You're joking, aren't you, Jesus? Because that story is upside down. That story tells us to do things we shouldn't do. Jesus put his head back and laughed. Of course I'm joking. But the sad part is, there's many people that think that Simeon did the right thing. Is it wrong to want to have money? Mary asked. No, said Jesus, but money must not become the most important thing for you. In the story, Simeon and the rich man and all the rest of the people thought that money was the most important thing. There wasn't any room in their hearts for God. Why not? Asked Andrew. Because it's like having two bosses. One boss tells you to do this, and the other boss tells you to do that. Nobody can make two bosses happy at the same time. You always love one boss more than the other. If money is the most important thing, then you can't also love God. That's a pretty tricky story. So, in the story, the man had a job. Simeon had a job, and he worked for another man who had lots of money. And Simeon was taking his boss's money and using it for things he wasn't supposed to use it for. And then, when his boss found out, he went to all the people who still owed his boss money and said, We're just going to pretend you don't owe the boss that much money, okay? And so then he thought he was making friends by tricking his boss with them. But that's not a good way to be, is it? To trick people and to take people's money. That's not a very good way to be. And maybe he could make some friends because he was spending money on them and helping them trick his boss. But that's not the right way to make friends, right? By being dishonest or by taking things from other people. It's a tricky story. So today we're going to read a story called What If Everybody Did That? By Ellen Javernick and illustrated by Colleen M. Madden. Now, sometimes there are things that some people have rights to do that we don't have the ability to do or the right to do. Like, sometimes it's okay for a baby to be in a stroller. Not everybody gets to be in a stroller, right? Because most of us can walk, and most of us don't even fit in the stroller. Or if someone uses a wheelchair, maybe they get to use an elevator that most of us don't get to use. But that's because they're in a wheelchair. But most of the time, it's a good thing to think when we do things if everybody should be allowed to do what we do. Because living in a community means all having similar rules, right? We all agree that we're going to do certain things. And this book's going to help us think about that. What if everybody did that? When we went to the zoo, I fed a bear just a little of my popcorn. The zookeeper waved his broom and said, "What if everybody was allowed to do that?" We're not supposed to feed the animals at the zoo, are we? If we did, they wouldn't be healthy. I just wanted to see how fast the grocery cart would go. It went faster than I expected. When the manager stopped me, she said, "What if everybody did that?" If everybody raced around the store with their grocery carts, would people get hurt? And will we maybe knock down some food and make it so that people couldn't buy it and eat it? Everybody shouldn't be able to do that, huh? On the way to visit Grandma and Grandpa in Kansas, I dropped just one soda can out the window. The patrol officer who pulled us over said, "What if everybody did that?" Now, if we litter something, we might think, oh, it's just one small thing. But if everybody just dropped one small thing out the window, there would be a whole bunch of trash everywhere, and it wouldn't be good for the environment. At Uncle William's wedding, I took just a little lick of the frosting from the fancy cake. The lady behind the table glared and said, "What if everybody did that?" If everybody took some, would it not look so fancy, and would that make the people who were getting married sad, maybe? Or maybe there wouldn't even be any cake left for everybody, huh? I told the babysitter that I took a bath just once a year. That's probably not the truth, is it? She shooed me into the bathroom and said, "What if everybody did that?" If everybody took a bath only once a year, we'd probably all be really stinky and dirty, and we probably wouldn't be very healthy because taking a bath helps us stay healthy. During story time, I had something important to say. I just couldn't wait till the end of the story. The librarian put her finger to her lips and said, "What if everybody did that?" See, everybody's talking. I gotta go potty. Why can't we read one of those other books? I already heard this one. My mom said that recycling is very good. And I rode my horse. And once And there's someone who's sleeping. I'm so hungry. I can touch my toes. See? How much do you weigh? If everybody talked during the story, we wouldn't be able to hear the story. Sometimes it's okay to have questions, huh? But it's also good to listen when people are talking. While we sat in the car waiting for Dad, I honked the horn. I honked just a few times, but Mr. Thompson came to his door. He shook his head and said, "What if everybody did that?" If everybody honked, it would be super noisy all the time, huh? We wouldn't even hardly be able to hear each other talking. At the swimming pool, I splashed just a little. The lifeguard blew his whistle and said, "What if everybody did that?" Well, sometimes we just splash when we're swimming, right? Because we just splash when we move around and sometimes it moves the water. But if we splash all the water outside the pool, there won't be any more water in the pool. On the bus, I stood up to see the fire truck. Mr. Gearshift stared at me in the rearview mirror and said, "What if everybody did that?" That would be really dangerous if everybody didn't sit in their seats with their seatbelts when the bus was moving, right? Or when the car is moving. We need to stay in our seats with our seatbelts on, huh? Sometimes there aren't seatbelts in a school bus, but you have to sit down to be safe. We always need to be safe in the car. Just once, I didn't hang my coat up on the rack at school. Ms. Saunders made me pick it up and said, "What if everybody did that?" It would be a mess, huh? At recess, I threw just one snowball at Sammy. Mr. Walters saw me. When he sent me to stand by the wall, he said, "What if everybody did that?" It's probably not nice to throw things at people most of the time, huh? Sometimes we can be playing a game, but if the other person isn't playing with us, then it's not really a game, huh? It's just throwing things at people, and that's not very nice. When we went out for dinner, I shot just one straw wrapper. The waitress stopped taking our orders and looked straight at me. She said, "What if everybody did that?" It's good to mind our manners at the table, right? So that everybody gets to eat and talk and be comfortable. After the football game, I just ran on the field to get the quarterback's autograph. The official waved his arms and said, "What if everybody did that?" If everybody did that, then the team wouldn't be able to do what they need to do, huh? When I came home, I gave my mom a hug. What if everybody gave someone they loved a hug? Everybody should. So when we do things, it's good to ask, what if everybody did that? Because if everybody was kind and polite, then that would be awesome. But if everybody littered or if everybody said mean things, then we wouldn't have a very nice place, would we? Church is kind of like that. We have a community and we all do things together and we try and follow the same rules. Like we all put our bulletins in the recycling after church, and we put our hymnals back, and we put our name tags in the baskets. And that helps so that people don't have to clean up a mess afterwards, right? Because if everybody left a mess, it would be a big bummer, right? So, at church and everywhere, we should always ask, what if everybody did that? And it will help us make better decisions. Okay? I'll see you next time.
Everyone, everywhere in the world, and all throughout time, in the ancient past and in the faraway future, has a heartbeat, just like you. All people love and live and feel. All people tell stories to make sense of it all. Let's keep telling stories to honor the past and help create the future. I'll see you next time.
Oh my gosh, I'm back. Okay. If you have older kids or more time to spend reading and talking with your kids, maybe you want to try one of these other books. What is Right by Eitan Boritzer is a great way to think about making decisions and deciding what's right in the world. And The Table Where Rich People Sit by Bird Baylor. That one discusses how money isn't the most important thing and that there are lots of things that can make you rich in different ways. I'll see you next time.